Howdy folks, Doc here with LastPass Tool, and about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I picked up this VIM wrench extender. It was about 55 bucks, which was a pretty big investment back then. I've seen the price now has gone, it might be 60 bucks down from, we're on sale from 70 on Amazon right now. But anyway, this thing is really nice, but of course it is a fixed size and tends to work better with some of the smaller wrenches. And what I was after was an exploration into the super cheap ones. Now you can get these things that start out in the 30s for something very similar, but with a name brand on it, probably much higher quality. There are some other handled wrench extenders. You could get like an OEM in the 40 range. But anyway, and I started looking at these thinking, that would be a good solution to carry in an overlanding kit if I ever needed that. It is on the larger side. Also thought of a few other things that it might work well to do, but then I started looking, and you can get these for a good one, maybe 30 bucks. Medium one, they drop down to about 20. And then I saw that there was this big steep dive, $18, $16, $15, $13, $11, $10. There's even one, I'll put a link for 8 and change, 8 bucks. Now, they all look about the same once you go under about 18 bucks. They even have a lot of the same pictures. They have unpronounceable business names. And I thought, well, okay, is it safe? It's a really simple design. It's bent metal. It doesn't have to be hardened or anything if it's done right. And it has a welded nut on here. You can see that, and I've scuffed it out because I did several tests on it just to see. Then I thought, if you had to have something break, would you want the wrench to break? Would you want the fastener to break? Would you want your pry bar or ratchet or whatever you're using to break? Or would you want this thing to break? So as long as this doesn't break under conventional use, it's probably okay. So this one here I paid like $9 for. And I'll put a link to the exact one I've got here in my hand, but there are others and they have exactly the same Amazon page, just a different name and a little different price. So anyway, shows up. I look at it. It does look like it's coated. It's not super precise, but it's not it's a crude tool. The main use of it, two functions. One would be if your wrench is either not long enough to reach something, maybe you can add say in this case I'll use a ratchet or a breaker bar or something else. This now gives you a much longer reach, or I can alter the angle at which I'm driving the wrench by using a ratchet, or if I want to keep it in 90-degree increments, I could of course use a breaker bar here, and then that gives me huge leverage. Now I did use this long breaker bar. I put this in a vise and clamped down on this end and applied quite a bit of pressure onto, or quite a bit of force onto this long thing, and I wasn't getting much flex. I was getting some scuffing, and then my vise jaws start bending a little. I put this end in a vise and basically started twisting it until my vise started, kind of separating a little bit. It's just an old Wilton. Looks like it's about a 5-inch vise. And then I thought, well, that's one of the jobs is extension. The other is a little bit more leverage. However, these are not designed, to have another foot or 2 feet of leverage stuck onto the back end of them, and the fastener probably isn't as well. So it's within, I think, safety tolerances for such a simple tool. And probably a lot of the tools we had many, many years ago were certainly not built near as well as some of the fast production tools today. A couple other things you can do with it. Obviously, you could, you can use a 1/2 inch on this. If you instead of locking to the wrench extender, you could always use a socket there as well. It doesn't hold it as tight, but that might allow you some more flexibility. Of course, that can happen. And then leave that on. And then you can also use a different drive. It's a 21 millimeter, so you can see wherever Snap-on would mark their sockets better. This is a 21. That drops right on there. So I could use a smaller ratchet as well, 3/4. And then you could, of course, use a 21mm wrench. That's the amount of play. I don't think it's going to give up too easily, but you might be safer that way. Maybe combining wrenches, but it's certainly better than, how we used to, line up wrenches and start prying on them. This is the old school way you did it. Like I said, it is a little bit bigger. This VIM, I can use something down to a 10mm. It will hold this. Not the easiest to release, but once it's on there, and you can see I'm kind of stuck. Could do it this way and get a few more angle points. But I mean, it is just a clamp. But if I use something larger in it, here's that 21. Works fine. I am bottoming out against that. If I try something like this 1" here, that's probably the limit of it. But, with a wrench this size, asking for trouble. But anyway, there it is. It works great on the larger stuff. Here's that 10 again on the small. It's just way small. You really have to hang on to everything. There's the 1". It's fits like a glove. So there it is, the wrench extender, the cheap ones. You can certainly look through all of the other options, but what I wanted was to be able to drop one of these into my overlanding kit, because I can envision times where I may not want to bring a giant breaker bar. I'll probably have something, for lug nuts, but I do carry a set of wrenches, sometimes limited, and this would just give it more options. Options are always good when you're stuck, and if this doesn't come home from the trip, that's fine too. Might paint it bright orange. But anyway, there it is. If you got other uses for these, I did go through a bunch of Amazon reviews, and I could not find anything terrible about any of them. There were some 1 stars, but then it said, of course, that review's not available. And I imagine some of them probably come off the assembly line, and are not that great. So maybe people didn't like them. I don't know. They say they're rust resistant. I think this is some kind of a plastic coating. You see, I've scraped it off. It's almost a thick coating there. I can get that to focus. It'll just chip, but it's a $10 tool or less. And it's a really crude tool as well. If you want more precision and elegance and green, get the VIM. But anyway, I'd like your experiences. You can share those if you've got some with these, but it is a simple, handy tool. I've made things like this myself in the old days, but there's one you can buy. And with that, Doc out.